Check, 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 check. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Can you guys hear me? Hello, hello. CJK, good to see you. Why, thank you, She Warrior. I appreciate that. Jari Taco Fall. What's up with that name? Louise. What is up, everybody? Make sure you participate in the poll. Richard Allen is bridge guy, question mark. 99.999%. Maybe, but not enough to convict him. Hybristophilia, a lifestyle choice. Hard to support him with no alibi. Cindy, good to see you. Mark, what's up? So I turned subscribers only mode off. Let's see if anybody can convince me today. But here's a serious question. What is Richard Allen's alibi? That's all I really want to talk about right now at the beginning of the stream when we get into Abby and Libby's case. And her obvious killer, one of them at least, right? Richard Allen. The guy with the timeline. The guy with the interaction with the three witnesses who identified Bridge Guy as the man that they encountered on the trail. And thankfully, Richard Allen gave great detail about those girls, right? Two of them look like sisters, possibly babysitting. One was much taller than the rest. And if it wasn't those three girls that he perfectly described, who were these other girls around 12:30? Where are these other group of girls that look alike? One's much taller, that appear to be babysitting. Who's that group? If we're not talking about the three, I know it's four, but technically three girls that testified during trial, if it's not those three girls that Richard Allen is describing, who are the three girls that he's describing? What's up, Michelle? Pitbull Mom, good to see you. Christy? I don't know what time we're going to get started. Yeah. He didn't give an alibi. Well, he said that he went to his mom's, came home. He wasn't, he wasn't with that as far as going to lunch with his mom and sister. Came home. The weather was okay. Grabbed a jacket. Went to the trails around 12:30. So I guess that would be his alibi, right? But it's almost virtually impossible to get from Mexico, Indiana, back to Delphi, stop at home, go back to the trails, and get there by 12. It's almost impossible. 12:30, that's doable. But he would have to leave right at 11:15 and haul ass. And he is known to be a speeder. What's up, Jari? His alibi is that he was on the trails. No, he said he left at 1:30. So what's his alibi from that point? People say, well, what about Patrick Westfall? What's his alibi? Well, his alibi was that he was at home, and I think his son corroborated that alibi. But what he's missing is a nexus to the actual crime scene. He is somewhat connected to the victims, right? We know that they visited his home. But as far as the day of the crime, Richard Allen was there. He admitted it at one point, right? He was afraid. He was trying to hide in plain sight. His wife was kind of putting him in a bad position between a rock and a hard place. Right. Honestly, he just wanted her to shut up, but she wouldn't, because I think she was suspicious at the beginning. Like, babe, that's you. Like, look at you. Like, look at the picture on the screen. That's what she's thinking. Like, that's who I'm seeing right now is this fucking guy. You have to go talk to police, right? Because I know it's not you, but I'm extremely suspicious of you. So when he went and self-reported and then met with Dan Doolin, and pretty much everything just kind of calmed down for him, that was all she needed. She's like, I told you, I knew it, right? But she was going to prove it. She was like, damn, that's him. But no way it's him, right? It's him, but no way it's him. Well, looks like everything checked out. It's not him. He met with Dan Doolin, and he's been cleared. 6 years go by. She had everything she needed for denial. Where did he stop to get beer? Probably Marathon. The Marathon gas station. The place that Keegan Klein looked up on Google. He looked up the Marathon gas station in Delphi, Indiana, the day the girls were murdered. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Yep. The same Keegan who confessed to actually participating in the crime. That guy. Oh, but that confession never happened. My bad. He put himself there. Yeah, he not only did he connect himself to the crime, originally he locked himself into the timeline. And it's funny because people say, well, what about Brad Weber? What about Dave McCain? And I say, okay, well, what about them? Well, they fit the timeline too. Okay, so the same things that make them suspicious should also make Richard Allen suspicious, right? So they have all those things in common that we should be looking for as far as who did this. And Richard Allen's right there with that group of people. But what else? We actually know that he was right there at 1:30, his car, and 3 witnesses. So we know he's the bridge guy. Now people are trying to move the goalpost and say that, yeah, Richard Allen is the bridge guy, but that don't make him the killer. Wow. But if Richard Allen is the bridge guy, that means that he lied. He changed his story. Why would he lie? Why not just say from the very beginning, yeah, that's me? Michelle says he was likely sexually frustrated. He was having problems with the wife. He can tell he's used to lying and manipulating her too. That dynamic in the interview was there to see. Yeah, he seems to act like the sweet, innocent guy, and she buys it. But behind the scenes, I think there's a lot we don't know. Some things you'll hear often too about Richard Allen that are mentioned. No, there's no connection to Odinism or to online CSAM that you know of. I don't know anything really about Richard Allen. I think he keeps it that way for a reason. Either that or his online footprint's been scrubbed, which is possible. Look at Edmund Kemper. He reminds me a lot of Richard Allen. Like the only time they're smart is when they're doing evil things. And I'm not saying he was smart, but the only time they're able to tap into that creative side, that high intellect. So they might look like dummies from the outside, but when they really want to, they might be able to get creative in a dark way. Compartmentalization. What is that? Rudder? Something? Verity Rudder? Verity Rudder. I believe he's innocent. I think Defense Diaries is spot on. Defense Diaries, Bob Mata. Shout out to Bob Mata. What are they right about? Let's try to deal with specifics, right? People talk about thinking critically. Let's see if you guys are able to do that. So you believe he's innocent because... Change my mind. Because I think he's the bridge guy. And if he's the bridge guy, he is the killer. Louise, yep, Ed Kemper. He looks like a dumb redneck. He didn't even know he was smart. That's what I'm kind of talking about. Somebody who's been treated so bad their entire life, they don't even realize their own potential, right? It's kind of like the story of the fleas, where you put the lid on. Before you put the lid on, you dump the fleas in there and they can jump right out of the jar. Put the lid on, they start bouncing and bumping their heads against the lid of the jar. Immediately, begins being programmed into their DNA. You could take the lid off, and they can only jump as high as the lid. So Richard Allen was programmed to believe that he was nothing, I think, or to feel like he was nothing, maybe early childhood trauma. But when he was alone and fantasizing and getting into that rage mode, he was definitely getting creative. He could have been working on burner phones. He could have been working on his work computer. He could have had a laptop that nobody knew about. He could have been using the McDonald's Wi-Fi right across the street from his job. I remember around that time I would walk in. I don't know if this is just a big city thing, but I'd walk into a McDonald's, to get some breakfast or some coffee or something. And there would be these individuals with like multiple computers set up. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were just going to town on these computers. They were like, it was almost like it was their job, but they were doing it right off of the McDonald's Wi-Fi. So I mean, if these motherfuckers can run a business, why couldn't somebody like Richard Allen run his dark web? There's no way he did it alone. Just saying, we agree to disagree. No, I agree with you on that one. But I thought you said he was innocent. Now you're saying there's no way that he did it alone. Are you saying that if it was done by multiple people, that there's no way that it could be Richard Allen? Because I think that might be flawed. Crimezilla, what up? How you doing? CJK. Of course, he could have done that alone, controlled with the gun, two young teens. They were terrified. Yeah, he admitted to kidnapping them, essay, then killed them. His own words to Walla. Yes, what we've learned about Richard Allen fits the crime, right? He wanted to sexually assault them, kidnap them down in a place that he's very familiar with, a place that he's taken his own daughter, right, across the bridge. There's obviously a reason he feels so confident back there. And the fact that the girls were able to make it across the creek, I don't think he took them across the creek. I think that pissed him off. He was mad about that. But the fact that he couldn't reach them before they made it across the creek tells me that he had his clothes off too. He was just comfortable right there. He was going to sexually assault these girls, have his way, and then murder them right there. And then he was going to leave. But right in the middle of it, boom, here comes this van, snaps him out of it, and here's the rage. Right? They take off running. Now he's got to put his pants back on. He's got to put his shoes back on. They're already across the creek. He's running through the water, slipping. He's completely wet now and muddy, cold as shit. He's pissed. Jumps up over the edge, right? He's been underestimated. People don't know him, right? He's an army guy. He was in the fucking National Guard. But to everybody else, right? He's little Ricky. I could see Kathy pushing him around. What's up, CJK? And then also the rage, right? He's pissed off, catches up to the girls. And that's why there's so much of a difference between what happened to Libby and what happened to Abby. Because he caught up, he was mad, he was in a blackout, just went crazy. That's why there was so much violence, right? We've heard it from the beginning. Whoever did this targeted Libby. So then we started speculating why. I think she just happened to be the one that was running, the furthest. And he stopped her. And everything was just violent and chaotic. And then he snapped out of it, pulled the gun on Abby. That's why you have the cartridge. He's telling her, like, you better do what I say. Let me figure this out. I don't know what's going on. I can't believe I just did this. I need you. He starts planning it out. Here comes the high IQ, right? Everything else, he's just worthless. Or I wouldn't even say worthless, just normal, just average. But here, nope. He's in total control. He decides whether you live or you die, and his decision was that they both were going to die. J-Ray, Fishy, good to see you guys. Sick with it. If he did it, he didn't do it alone. I agree with you. Sorry, I suck at conveying through text. Oh, no worries. Me too. Don't worry. I can't even spell. Just seems if he got spooked from Weber's van and the girls also would have seen Weber's van and you'd think they'd try to get there. The thing is, they can't get there, Fishy. There's a cliff right there. They would have to go through him. They don't want to go through him. They want to get away from him. And they know, everybody's like, well, why did the killer cross the creek? Well, why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Well, why did he want to get to the other side? Well, his entire world in his mind is on the other side of that creek. I care what people think about me. Remember that guy? Dependent personality if Kathy finds out. But he's a psychopath. So that means that those girls have to die in order for that not to happen. And there they go crossing that creek. And here I am with my britches down and my shoes off. And this guy's in this van's probably going to see me down here. That's why he put those sticks. Those sticks are a representation of his paranoia. I have to conceal these girls from what I'm afraid of. The van, the bridge, people on the bridge, the dad calling. That's what the sticks are about. That's it. I don't know. They could have yelled up at the van, but I think they didn't hesitate. With Richard Allen being spooked, he might have tried to hide maybe. Right? He's like, oh shit. And maybe tried to hide and run, maybe created a little space between him and the girls. And they said, let's go. Picked up their clothing and their arms and took off running. And they knew it was shallow there. So why did the chicken cross the road? Because their victims, because the chicken's victim was familiar with that area and knew that it was shallow right there. Probably even waited there a couple times. They picked that. They said, let's run. Let's take off here in the direction, not only with knowledge that it's shallow, but they also know that they're running in the direction of their transportation, which is at the Mears lot. But that pissed him off. Why would the killer go in through that cold water? You think he wanted to? Crazy. What's up, Olivia? Thanks for stopping by. Cyber, welcome in. Michelle says, yep, he is pathetic. Yep, absolutely. But he told him not to mess with him. I told you what would happen if you messed with him. You're right. He's looking. I told him. It's not his fault. In his mind, somebody pushed him to it. I wonder who that was. All right, let's see what's going on with the poll. Richard Allen is bridge guy, question mark. 62% of you say yes. 99.999% he is the bridge guy. 28% of you say maybe, but not enough to convict. 5% say hybristophilia. It's a lifestyle choice. Another 5%, hard to support him with no alibi. For real. For me, that's the cherry on top. Like everything else is just overwhelming. It's definitely enough. Some of it's circumstantial, yes. But no alibi on, just to top it off. It's just like, wow. And most times I don't even consider the confessions. That's kind of like another one of those things that's just right on top of everything else. Rudolfo. During the interview, he put himself there that day, that afternoon, When they brought up the video, the bridge guy, his answers were sponsored by Kamala Harris because all I heard were word salads. Yeah, what's up? What's wrong with you, Fishy? You caught the bug? Looks like the seasons are beginning to change. It's going to start getting cold here. Well, it's interesting because we don't have the email address that he had at the time of the murders. We don't have the phone. We don't have the email address. So about 3 weeks before the murders, Richard Allen was working in Peru at CVS 2 blocks from the Klein home 3 weeks before the murders. Yeah, Cindy, I'm thinking the marathon. Hey, sweets. What up? Stuffing my face and got behind on comments. Yeah, we got really busy today. Got really busy, passed out, and I actually rescheduled the live stream that we had earlier today on my phone, but apparently it didn't. It's like it didn't take or whatever. All right. So you have a guy who looked up the Marathon gas station, which is Keegan Klein, on the day the girls were killed. The Marathon gas station is right around the corner from Richard Allen's home. It's obvious that Richard Allen came into that area from a back way, right? Why would he cross in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store video? So if he's coming from the direction of the cemetery, who's to say he wasn't with somebody, right? If he was with somebody that stopped at the cemetery, we wouldn't know it. Why wouldn't they just leave the way they came in? The only reason for Richard Allen to cut in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store is because for a strategic reason. I think there's a good chance he thought that the girls that witnessed him might have been Abby and Libby. You know, if Kleins are involved, he's definitely targeting them. So you're telling me that the guy that was working in Peru 2 blocks away from the Klein home 3 weeks prior to the murders is at the Monon High Bridge Trail, and the same guy, Keegan Klein, who was communicating with Abby and Libby up until the murders, looks up the Marathon gas station around the corner from his home and confessed to participating in the crime, saying that his father and somebody else in Delphi, that somebody else is obviously Richard Allen, right? Michelle says, Sleuth, have you tried to analyze the CCTV car video to see if there was anyone else in the car on the way there? No, I haven't. Now, if you want to get into the Las Vegas conspiracy, yeah, that's interesting too. So you have the Kleins purchasing tickets to Las Vegas in July of 2016. in in August of 2016. No, yeah, in that same month, July, is when Keegan Klein created the Anthony Shots account. And that's when he began kind of grooming and looking for girls, including Abby. So who's to say somebody in Las Vegas didn't tell them, like, hey, if you can get me this, videos of this, I'll give you a shit ton of money. So it doesn't matter if they get a shit ton of money. If they were convinced that they would, they might, perpetrate a crime, just like Darren Schillmiller. So if you have Richard Allen expressing financial issues, right? He was complaining about the stock market. That could be his way of kind of communicating part of his motive. Like, hey, I'm having money trouble. My daughter's going to college. I have a wedding that's coming up. I have a funeral. My sister or my wife's brother passed away. We're trying to take care of Kathy's mother. So, yeah, there's that financial element. So you have his motive being bribed, and it could all be just about getting a video, getting some kind of product to bring to Las Vegas. We know that Keegan Klein was on a burner phone in Las Vegas. He only had it for 3 days from the time that he got there to the time that he left. And with that phone, he had no password on there. As you know, multiple people might have been using it. But he was meeting people on Craigslist. And he told law enforcement, you guys know about that, right? Remember, these psychopaths are always interviewing the interviewer. They think they can outsmart them. They hang around, right? I don't need an attorney. I'm going to outsmart you, but then I'm also going to learn what you have. I'm going to learn information. I'm going to get information out of you. That's why they stick around. That's why Rick was hanging out, talking to those guys and talking to Holman instead of just saying, hey, I want my attorney. Because he wants to see what they have. Like, oh, you have a bullet, do you? What else do you got? What's up, Robert? Cyber says, I think the Vegas trip is connected. I mean, it could be. You have Richard Allen complaining about financial issues, how the stock market didn't work out for him. It's like he's trying to incorporate that into, right? So if you reverse engineer a crime scene, everything is going to be specific to the killer. So in some way, that could be like a half truth. What is he really saying? He's really saying, hey, I'm having financial issues. That's why I'm out there on this phone. Well, what's he doing on that phone? Probably on a Yubo, going live, literally live in his killer outfit on this phone, stalking the girls, or on Snapchat, waiting for them, hiding in the trees, waiting for them to post something on Snapchat. Sweets. I bet the device KK wiped would tell the story along with Richard Allen's missing phone from 2017. I just don't know how we ignore somebody that created the Anthony Shots account, was talking and luring Libby, grooming her, speaking with her up until the moment that she died. This is the guy who looked up the Marathon gas station. It's been verified. I'm not just spreading rumors. On the day the girls were killed. And on top of all of that, apparently he confessed to going with his father to the cemetery and met up with another man there. And his father came out of the woods muddy and bloody, saying, we just had fun. I don't know what that means. So you're telling me that it's a coincidence that Keegan Klein looked up the Marathon gas station in Delphi, and then later on, after he was imprisoned for other crimes, he decided to confess. And it just so happened that it matched up with him searching for the Marathon gas station. That's crazy. And we all know that Richard Allen came from the direction of the cemetery. Keegan Klein said that he went to the cemetery. So who's to say they didn't go to the cemetery the same way that Richard Allen was coming from and just went back that same direction? They would have never went in front of any cameras and would have went back home. Could have been in a completely different vehicle. Critter Mama, the description of Bridge Guy doesn't match. No witnesses could identify Richard Allen. Let's face it, lazy, sloppy narrative that has kept this case from being solved. Hair and fingers, DNA, phone, GPS. All right, let's start from the top. The description of Bridge Guy doesn't match Richard Allen. Well, it matches him perfectly. And not only does it match his own description, the girls that say that they saw the Bridge Guy, like, hey, the guy that's in Libby's video, we ran into that guy when we were leaving the park. Well, it just so happens that Richard Allen originally said that at the time he was getting there, he bumped into these girls as they were leaving and he was getting there. At the exact same point that he described it. He is 100% matching the description. So you say there's no witnesses that could identify Richard Allen. Absolutely. The only person that gave away who the Bridge Guy was Richard Allen himself. And let's face it, so that's nothing lazy, sloppy, that's ad hominem, kept this case from hair and fingers. Well, Abby was found wearing Kelsey's hoodie, right? Kelsey's hair was in Abby's hand. You don't think that that makes sense? Let's look at the DNA. Remember, there was no killer's DNA there at all. It's not like they didn't just not find Richard Allen's DNA. They didn't find any male DNA. They found like a faint, I think on Abby somewhere there was a faint trace. And remember, she lived with multiple males. She lived with her grandfather and I think her uncle. And nobody in it, they can't say that it's not Richard Allen. That's the thing. So it's not that they don't have Richard Allen's DNA. They don't have any male killer's DNA. So either the killer was a female or the male perpetrators were careful enough not to leave evidence. And they don't even have to be careful. If you touched the girls on the south side of the bridge, just down the hill, all of that could have potentially been washed off after they went through the water. The witness description actually did match. So you're not being honest with yourself, Critter. You got to start there. I mean, why lie to convince yourself that Richard Allen's not the guy? At least you can do is be truthful about it. The height is consistent, Critter Mama, and it's also an issue that Allen's worried about, or else they wouldn't have changed the fishing license thing. I have long hair. I can assure you, if I have hair in my fingers, I had a hold of someone's hair. That's not true. So let me get this right. Kelsey's the killer, right? And Abby somehow miraculously, with some kind of ninja karate move, grabs one strand of hair from the killer. Like, don't move, Kelsey. I'm going to go ahead and separate all of this hair, and I'm going to wrap one piece around my finger, and boom, I'm going to hold this as evidence. Don't you think that there would be multiple hair like a grouping of hairs being ripped out? Like, are you not even thinking about that? Like that's some kind of sorcery. That's like magic. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one strand of hair around my finger so that I have evidence. If you're in a struggle, you're going to grab somebody's hair and you're going to pull out a shit ton of hair. You're going to have a whole handful of it. You're not going to have one tiny little strand. The only way that happens is if you put on a hoodie while you're wet and there happens to be the person whose hoodie it belongs to in the sleeve, and while you're shoving it through, you hook it on your finger. It's really not that difficult, right? Unless you're biased and you like to attack people like Kelsey because she's a little bit off on the camera, right? She thought that she could be strong and stand up for her sister, and look what you guys did to her, right? Horrible mistake. Horrible mistake to ever think that people would be civilized, right? Jeez. Yeah, I think it was flight. I think as soon as the van went by Robert and Richard Allen began to panic, they took that opportunity. I think it was run. It was flight right there. I think that it was Libby taking the lead, saying, "Come on, we don't have much time. Let's get the hell out of here." But the flopping fish that he is, Richard Allen, quick, right? This little underestimated little garden gnome, he's in control today. And she's going to pay for making him go through that cold water. He didn't want to. It wasn't his idea. I've had it on my hand before, and I sure didn't grab anyone by the hair. Yeah, it's happened to me before, too. My wife is always stealing my jackets, my hoodies. That's why I know how it happened. It's easy to explain. you know, you're fighting with a female assailant, and you're able to somehow miraculously get one strand. There, I gotcha. Ha ha. Peggy O, what's up? Stephanie, welcome. The hair can easily be explained. She was in Kelsey's car before it got to the trail. Case, yeah, stayed the night with Kelsey, was in her car, and wearing her hoodie. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. All right. Richard Allen is still bridge guy. You still haven't proved me wrong. So keep going in the chat. Let's hear from some let's hear from some lurkers. And I'm going to grab me a water. All right. What'd we miss? What'd we miss? Ooh. Super chat. Miss Doglover. Why do people always attack and blame the family members? It's disgusting. Because they want to. They're on that same Richard Allen vibe. That's why they support him. Same frequency. And it's really not even about supporting her, right? It's just not attacking her. So Richard Allen's bullet matches the crime scene, but they don't want that. They don't pick that. Why not? Because a part of them is relating to Richard Allen, not to Abby and Libby and not to Kelsey. They're relating to him. So when you talk about his timeline and all this evidence, it doesn't make any sense. But when you have a hair with an obvious reason for being there, to them, that's bombshell, right? Because they hate Abby and Libby. They hate Kelsey. They hate anything that's good involved in the case. The one wicked aspect is Richard Allen. If they can get him off, that's like black magic, really. You know, it's like West Memphis 3 shit. It's an accomplishment. That's what they get off on, is the manipulation of it. They don't care. They don't really believe that he's innocent. They could care less. But if they can convince the world to believe what they believe, man, that's what it's all about for them. Yes, Louise. Yeah, my wife's hair is everywhere. Go do the test that we did on a live stream a while back. Go grab it. If you have women in your home, or if you're a woman, go fold a hoodie inside out and tell me how many strands of hair you find. Plenty. Did we find out where they moved him? No, still don't know. Last we heard, Oklahoma, but he's no longer listed there. Peggy, all I know is that picture is super creepy. Yeah. I was like, I'm putting that up. There he is. Look, he's even got his gun. Do you see his gun clipped right there? He's got his gun clipped. He's got like a Hank Hill ass. He's got the pants bunched up. He's got the boots. And he's got the weird thing hanging down over his pocket, which is probably his cigarettes, a lighter, maybe some other things, his phone, maybe. Yeah, that's him. Yep, that's Rick Allen. That's a photograph that his wife took. He got that Hank Hill. Right. Kind of see him sagging like a cholo. Odale. Elbows up. No, this was in his wife's what do you call that? What the hell? Where you keep the photos in the books? Having a brain fart. Yeah, he looks like a hunchback. He's got something on his back, though. I don't know. I think it's a camelback. I don't know, something. Oh, what the hell that is. Yeah, photo album. There you go. Yeah, photo album. Thank you, guys. Yeah, like scrapbook. Scrapbook photo albums. That's the one I was looking for. Lean like a chomo. Oh, geez. You guys are wild. Cindy, I think he's got his backpack under the sweatshirt, but I think it was like a family joke, like Brittany would know or remember. Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out. It even looks like maybe a teddy bear. It kind of has like the shape of a teddy bear. Like he just kind of threw it behind his back or something. She thinks he was married to Quasimodo. Oh yeah, Los Locos kick your wait, no. Los Locos kick your face. Los Locos kick your ass. Los Locos kick your balls into outer space. Johnny Five is alive. No disassemble. All right, guys, this is our 5-minute warning. Please participate in the poll. I'm going to close it down in like 1 minute. Richard Allen is bridge guy. So nobody could convince me, right? So instead of trying to convince me, they accused Kelsey again. It's despicable. I don't know why I support Richard Allen. Well, I guess it was hybristophilia, right? Hybristophilia, a lifestyle choice. That's why they support him. Poor Johnny Five. Thank you, Jar. If you guys need to reach me, there you go. sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Yes, J Ray, they did. Absolutely. And you know who else was right on their description? You want to know who gave the best witness description? Richard Allen. His description of those three girls, right? One taller than the others, two look like sisters, kind of look like they were babysitting. He said, I ran into them right as I was entering the trail. They were leaving. Well, that's when they ran into the bridge guy. It's clear as day, guys. Do coincidences exist? Absolutely. Do false confessions happen? Absolutely. The thing is, the strange thing about psychosis is you can be guilty of a crime and still make a false confession about committing that crime. There was a man that was malingering and feigning all these symptoms, right? That he was out of his mind, but he didn't have to, because no matter what he did, the court believed that he was insane. He killed a social worker that was checking on his kids. He blacked out, killed her, woke up, and turned himself in. Kind of like what Richard Allen could have done. He blacked out, killed Libby, woke up, and then killed Abby in cold blood. Well, this guy, even though he was feigning symptoms of having psychosis due to being locked up in solitary confinement, the judge didn't care. The judge was like, yeah, I know he's feigning. I know he's malingering, but I'm still going to I'm going to find him not guilty by reason of insanity. And he went to a hospital and they all agreed. So even though it was as if he had this case, like he was under psychosis, He was confessing about things that didn't happen. So it doesn't matter. You can have psychosis. You can be a guilty man and go into solitary confinement and still start making false confessions. Like, hey, I shot them, or hey, I did this, or things that don't really make sense. So there could be a point where he literally was under psychosis induced by solitary confinement, saying a lot of weird shit, but still be guilty. That's why I'm not a big fan of solitary confinement for people who are suffering from mental illness. Stephanie, he's a nutcase. And weren't we looking for a nutcase? What's up, Frank? Deanna, I agree. He is the bridge guy. He described himself. He did not say that it is not me only. The girls took the picture. It is not me. Well, now Richard Allen supporters are conceding that he is the bridge guy, but not the killer. So why did he lie? Why did he lie about being the bridge guy? He could have came forward early on and was like, yeah, I bumped into the girls. They asked me something, and I told them, guys, down the hill. After I caught up to them, I told them, guys, it's down the hill. And then I walked back. It was the last time I seen him. But instead, he lied about it. I thought the hole was the same thing as solitary confinement. Miss Dog Lover BG is the killer. Well, nobody ever, they had the opportunity to at least try to explain their side of things. Maybe they can do that in the chat, or excuse me, in the comment section. I mean, think about it. To these people, Kelsey is a bigger suspect than Richard Allen. And if you ask them, well, why is Ron Logan suspicious? Why is Brad Weber suspicious? Why is Dave McCain suspicious? Oh, his timeline or this and that. Well, those are the same things that make Richard Allen suspicious. But there's just a few more things that make him suspicious, right? His own witness description of himself being the bridge guy, him admitting to being on the bridge, looking like the bridge guy, the bullet, the lack of his own alibi, the recent revelation of his mother being suspicious, and him saying that they're going to try to blame this on him, thinking that he was going to be arrested long ago, right? Doing what he always did, being proactive, trying to clean up his mess after some impulsive decision. Administrative segregation, which is just a one-man cell. Then there's the whole, the SHU, and that's like a timeout. They say he's not bridge guy, just a guy giving directions down the hill, a helpful guy. Not. Oh, where's the shoe tree? Where's this? Where's that? Guys, down the hill. And then I'm off to go check out the fish some more. These darn stocks aren't doing what I thought they would do. I wonder if what those girls are up to. No, that's not what happened. This motherfucker was triggered by whatever happened at his mom's, or he was up to something with the Kleins in Peru that morning. Either way, he was out of his damn mind, and he fits the description. We now know that he is out of his mind. So if he was malingering or feigning, either way, he was still masturbating and singing country music and telling guards that he was going to cut their throats. So if he's an innocent man, Why is he telling the guards that he's going to cut their throats? And that's the exact same thing he's being accused of. Yikes. That's all I got to say about that. Yikes. Oh, yeah. And flinging doo-doo. Eating paper, eating feces, playing with his toilet water. So he, trying to look crazy. I mean, if you're in jail for 2 years, you're probably going to masturbate. I don't think so. I think only a sexual deviant could masturbate knowing that he's being filmed and in prison for the murder of 2 young kids involving a sexual act. I think you can hold off for 2 years until you get out. Cyber. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. It's better that they're Baldwin, Andy Baldwin, and Rosie and such. Walla and Andy and such. Awkward. Yeah, that is awkward. Imagine the jury, what they were thinking when they were watching that video. That's gross. We were looking for a madman. That was our profile. Remember, we said a guy with mama issues, probably suffering from mental illness, very local. This is his backyard. I mean, you guys can go back to like 2018 when we profiled the bridge guy. That's what we said. And this dude has all kinds of mama issues. All right, guys. If you disagree with me, please prove me wrong. We're done with the live stream. Thank you guys for hanging out. So this is for the replay crew. If you guys can prove to me that, just give me a little bit of information, some facts. Don't give me all this weird shit, okay? Let's get some solid information out here. Truthfully, try to prove me wrong, because I'm not convinced at all, in the slightest. Good night, Jari. Peace out, Peggy, J. Ray, Louise, Miss Dog Lover, and everybody else. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you again mañana. Peace.
I rest my case.